back again for another video. This time, my team selection for Game Week 7. Let's get into it. But first of all, we're going to look at Game Week 6. And yeah, it was a good week. I wildcarded, and a lot of the players that I brought in managed to get me multiple points. I'd say it was a successful wildcard. Raya didn't manage to get a clean sheet. To be honest, I didn't really expect it against Newcastle. However, Arsenal managed to get an XGC of 0.61, so they really shut out Newcastle quite well. Newcastle only had one big chance, and that was Voltemades, and he put that away. Other than that, there was no other big chances missed from Newcastle. So despite going to St James's Park, which is a notoriously tough ground to go to, yeah, Arsenal are really strong defensively, and that bodes well for the future. Then, of course, we had Senesi. There was another player that I brought in on the wildcard. He managed to pick up an assist and defensive contributions. I said in the previous video, that's now 6 out of 6 games he's got defensive contributions. I wonder when that will stop, but I'm hoping it continues as I've just brought him in. Tarkowski blanked, and then we know Gabriel managed to get a goal, defensive contributions, and bonus points. You can't really ask for much more when you bring in someone on the wildcard. Yeah, just very fortunate to have brought him in at the right time, and he picked up a goal. It's not often defenders get goals, so I'm very happy that I brought him in when I did. Then moving on to the midfield, and the enigma that is Bruno continues. He has now missed 2 penalties. He was 1 away from DEFCON points. Yeah, feel really unfortunate with Bruno. I believe the pick is right. I mean, the fact that he stepped up to 2 penalties means that I've chosen the right midfielder. You try and get as many penalty takers in your team. Bruno is one of them. Man United tend to get a lot of penalties, so Bruno in multiple seasons has got over 200 points. So when you go with that pick and then the player does get penalties, he comes away with 2 scored penalties, and yeah, you've got a number of points on the scoreboard, and yeah, things are looking a lot better for that player. However, we've been very unfortunate with Bruno so far. He still managed to get 2 goals this season, but could have been better. You have to hope that going forward, if Man United manage to get another penalty, that Bruno steps up. They do have Cunha and Mbermo on the wing. They're a very fast attacking team now, so that's going to cause defenders a lot of problems. Could there be more penalties in the future? I think so. So until Bruno is dislodged from his penalty taking, I still think he's a good pick. And then the other player that I brought in on my wildcard, Semenyo, he managed to score a free kick. He only managed 0.26 goal threat, but again, this is why you pick a player who's like a talisman figure for their team. They usually play full 90 minutes, they're usually on set pieces, and this is why you pick them, because they take set pieces and they could always score from that or get an assist. So yeah, happy with Semenyo. He's gone up in price a couple of times since I put him in, so yeah, he's gave me a lot of value already. Njai blanked, don't really need to say much about him. I'm considering my options with Reijnders. He has blanked in 4 of the 5 games I've had him. He's just not looking very threatening. 0.21 expected goal involvement. Yes, the reason why I brought him in is because he's a cheap midfielder playing for City. I mean, he does play full 90 minutes most of the time, so that is good for a 5.5 million player at the start of the season. 5.5 million players shouldn't really get you many points, but with the money in the bank that I have, I feel like I can get a more productive player in that position at the 6.5 million mark. So I'm considering my options. I don't know if I'll do it this week, but we'll talk about it later. Then moving on to the strikers, and yeah, Gyökeres blanked, Pedro blanked, and my captain Haaland managed to get 2 goals and 1 assist. So really happy I managed to bring him in. I managed to bring in Raya, Gabriel, Semenyo and Haaland in the wildcard, and all 4 of those players got me most of my points. I think it was a total of 59 points in total that they brought in for me. So I feel like it's a really good choice to do the wildcard in Game Week 6. It's paid off for me, and yeah, and even on the bench, the other 2 players that I brought in, Reijnders and Mukiel, they managed to get 10 points between them. So yeah, really good wildcard. So yeah, 69 points overall. That puts me on the overall points of 358 points. That saw me climb 524,000 places to just over 797k. So under the 1 million mark in game week 6. Really happy with that considering how poorly I started. 4 green arrows in a row now. And yes, let's hope the form continues. So now let's move on to my transfer targets and see what I'm thinking about Reijnders. So my potential transfer that I'm thinking about is Reijnders to Saar. Now, I had Saar before the wild card. I just didn't think he would play against Liverpool. I kind of saw it as like a free hit. Saar's just coming back from a hamstring injury, so for him to start straight away was really something, to be honest. And the fact that he scored as well, crazy. It really shows how important Saar is to Palace, and his goal involvement is the highest of any player outside of Estevao, I think. And Estevao isn't really a guaranteed starter like Saar is. So yeah, I just want to go back to him really. Now, neither of them on penalties, neither of them take set pieces, but I think there's more goal threat from Saar, and he actually dropped in price to 6.4 when he was injured. So to get him in now would be a great time before he goes up again. Yeah, Everton away. Palace are a great counter-attacking team. Yeah, with Saar's pace, I can see him getting in behind and getting a return that way. Or, like I've said in the previous videos, Saar is being in the right place at the right time, just like his goal against Liverpool, and picking up goals that way as well. So he's got many ways of scoring goals. He isn't even on penalties or set pieces. So yeah, really impactful player at a really cheap price right now. So I'm really considering it. That's a lot of reallys, but yeah, it's one that I'm considering. I've got 3 transfers. I don't really want to waste it because Reijnders does have a good fixture, and then he has a good fixture the next week. But if he fails to deliver, but if his expected goal involvement is poor and he's not really in and around that area looking like he's going to potentially pick up a return, that's when I make the decision to change him, because I like players who are involved in the game, involved around the opposition's penalty area, looking like they're going to get a return. And if Reijnders isn't doing that, then yeah, I'd rather get somebody who is always in and around that area because he's playing a forward-thinking position like Saar. So those are my thoughts. Let's move on to the Gameweek 7 team selection. Yeah, Gameweek 7, I've gone with the same team really, so not much to talk about. Raya and Gabriel at home to West Ham. West Ham are the worst team in the league for defending set pieces. Arsenal are the best team in the league for scoring set pieces. So that likely means that Arsenal don't score for one. But let's see. Maybe Gabriel gets 2 goals in 2 games. Centre side, Tarkowski, both at home. Tarkowski's got a tough fixture against Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace are a great counter-attacking team. Do I expect a clean sheet from Tarkowski? Probably not. That's why I'm considering Reijnders, but more on that in a bit. And then in midfield, Bruno and Jai and Reijnders. Semenyo as vice captain. Fulham conceded 3 away to Villa, who were struggling for goals. So coming into this game, they're coming up against a lot tougher opposition in Bournemouth. So there's always a chance that Semenyo can pick up a return in that game. Bruno has Sunderland at home. You would imagine it's a good fixture for Man United, but Sunderland are surprising a lot of teams, so I wouldn't be surprised if Sunderland pulled it off against United. Then we've got Pedro. He's at home to Liverpool, so that is a tough fixture, but he's a good player. Liverpool aren't the best defensively at the moment, as we saw against Palace, so there's always a chance that Pedro can pick up a goal. And then Haaland and Gyökeres. Haaland's my captain. He's in too good a form to not pick him as captain, even if Gyökeres is at home to West Ham. And Gyökeres is another player outside of Reijnders that I'm considering. I just don't enjoy watching him play. He's just not an Arsenal type player. Eze has come in, fits in perfectly to the way you imagine Arsenal play. But Gyökeres is complete opposite to that. He's just clunky, robotic, just runs channels, doesn't have any sort of flair about him. He's too slow when he's in and around the box to get shots off. But he has been brought in for games like this where Arsenal struggle to break down teams, and Gyökeres gets on the end of things. So that's what I'm hoping he does. However, if I see a poor performance against him at 3 o'clock, then he's definitely someone I'll consider, and my consideration would be to drop him down to a cheaper forward, so I can probably get someone like Saka in instead, even if he's not on penalties. He's just a better player. when you watch someone who's just a better player, you just think he's going to get those returns for you. However, is he a better FPL player? Maybe not, considering he's off penalties. But again, he could be a differential because not many people have gone for Saka. They've gone for Gyökeres to get the goals. And the more I watch Gyökeres, I just don't think he's going to get many goals. I just don't think he's very good. But I could be proved wrong. And then my bench, they've not got the strongest fixtures, but I'm considering Richards in place of Tarkowski just because I'm a Palace fan. We know how strong Palace have been. They're now 19 games unbeaten. That run does have to come to an end at some point. But against Everton, there's always a chance they can keep a clean sheet. A lot of the games between Everton and Palace are 0-0s or 1-1s. If I look back at the fixtures, you'll see that there's been a lot of 0-0s and a lot of 1-1s. So there's always a chance that Palace can keep a clean sheet against Everton. And I just fancy Palace with the run that they're on. They've just beaten Dynamo Kiev away from home. That's my only doubt with them. Everybody says that teams struggle with the Thursday, Sunday fixtures. So maybe that's the only niggling doubt in my mind about Palace going away from home after flying back from Poland Thursday night, getting back late or early in the morning Friday, and then they've got 2 days before they play again. So that's the only doubt in my mind, and that's probably the reason why I've got Tarkowski in the 11 at the moment. But yeah, that wraps it up for this week's team selection. What do you think? Would you make any changes? Would you bring in Richards for Tarkowski, or would you leave it as it is? If you found this video helpful, hit that like button. If you're new here, subscribe so you don't miss next week's breakdown. Until next time, good luck, green arrows, and enjoy the football.